Welcome to Discuss With Us podcast, where we are unpacking the world through a Christian lens. I am your host, Darcy Durkowski, along with my husband, Brian, and our intention is to pose topics, trending and otherwise, and unpack them with the help of some research, insights from our different backgrounds, and even some listener input in a way that is thought-provoking and entertaining. So get comfortable, grab your favorite beverage, and discuss with us.
Welcome back to another episode of Discuss With Us. Darce, on the ones and twos, how you doing?
I'm dealing with a little chest congestion problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. Last week, we were all below deck. Me and the boys were all on the struggle bus, and our lightning rod was just leading us through the storm unscathed. But here she sits, just hacking up a lung.
Yep. It's not great. And what's going to be tough tonight is if I can't really laugh because then I just go into a coughing fit. So
we're going to test that out, I think. But yeah, she's on the struggle bus, and part of me is like super ecstatic because it's so annoying when something happens to the boys and I like get it just
full on.
Yeah, worse, and you're fine, and that's super annoying. But now at the same time, now you're sick, and I hate that because now everything's harder.
You have to pick up the slack.
Yes. What is going on here?
Yeah.
I don't want to win this anymore. But we're here. We're making it. It's raining outside. We got a little wet trying to come up here, but we're going to power through for you guys because it's Love Languages Day.
Yes. But before we don't start.
Okay.
You didn't read my outline, did you?
I didn't know we do outlines. I thought we were.
Do you even follow me on Instagram?
Yes, I follow you on Instagram. Why?
Whatever. Because I had said we would do a little fun segment. I did an Ask Us Anything deal, and I said if we got enough questions that we would go through some questions. So
okay, I missed that one. All right, what are we doing then?
Okay, first question: how did we meet?
Which time?
Both.
Okay. First we were at actually 3 times. You're friends of one of my friends' little sisters, so I knew who you were. But we met at a party in Round Top.
Yes.
And then like 2016, 15, something like that.
No, it was earlier than that. It was like 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then a couple years later, that's when we like reconnected, if you will.
Yeah. Okay.
At the gig in Shelby. So the New Year's Eve party in Shelby. Brian,
I'm sorry, it's not on my calendar.
Yes, it is. Hush.
Not that date, but okay. All right, next question.
Anyway, sorry. Lovely. Okay. What do you love most about each other?
Oh, you go first, please.
You haven't had much time to think about these.
On the spot, literally.
Yeah. Okay. What I love most about Brian is how steady.
You've had time to think about this. Steady. Ooh.
How steady you are.
Steadfast. You hear that?
Yeah, steadfast.
Okay. Let's see. I'll do this in 2 parts.
Okay.
Well, like before and after kids. They're still the same, but it's not fair to say you're a really good mom because we didn't have kids when we were dating, obviously, and I didn't think about that, to be completely honest. But now I would say that's definitely one of my favorite qualities about you. Back then, I would say you're very independent, and that's you're like extremely independent, which is pretty rare, and beautiful. I'll go with that too.
Oh,
you'll see why later.
Thanks, dear.
It's what we call a tease in the business.
Okay. Favorite travel destination, dream and otherwise. Dream and where we've been, maybe.
Dream Marvel Cinematic Universe.
What? Oh, okay. I didn't understand you at first. I was like, what are you talking about?
We've done this on Instagram before, haven't we? Because I said
Yes.
Maui.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I don't like to
So,
leave the United States.
right.
So.
Yeah, Maui. And then we said maybe dream Kauai because it's like the
Oh,
more
yeah. Okay,
rural,
fine. Yeah.
non
A different
tourist.
Hawaiian island than we've
Yeah.
been to.
We
So
love
basic.
Hawaii. Okay. And then I don't know, with or without kids. Like I think.
Oh, yeah, because I said Disney World with kids.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And you've never been there.
I've never been there, so that would be fun.
Yeah.
And then without kids, I would maybe one day like to go across the pond with you, but
Nah, they're crazy over there. We're not
if
doing
I
that.
can get you to, I don't know. We'll
I
see.
used to think Australia would be really fun, but I've
Now
kind of...
that's a long plane ride. You were saying long plane ride
Yeah,
earlier.
well, Maui's about as... That's why I said I changed my mind on that.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Okay, so again, Instagram, that's where we got those questions. Our Instagram is at discuss_with us.
Like or follow, please.
Yeah. Okay, and I did some polls on Instagram. Here's our transition.
Okay.
Follow
Now,
me.
are we back at the real
Yes, we
story
are.
now?
Yes. So we're discussing the 5 love languages today. And I did some polls on Instagram a couple days ago.
Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah. Is everybody familiar with the 5 love languages? And most people said yes. What was surprising to me is that of those people that said yes, very familiar with love languages, most of them said that they had not discussed them with their significant other, or at least
sense.
weren't super confident that they knew the other significant others.
I don't
love
remember
languages.
ever hearing about them until recently from you. So,
Which is funny because I distinctly remember us discussing them as newlyweds or newly engaged or something. I know we did this.
you read the book. I know you did that, and we probably talked about it then, but besides like physical touch, I don't know if I could name any of them.
Okay.
Now I can.
Yeah.
So I teased this at the end of last episode. Ladies, if you listen to this and your significant other doesn't, this would be a good one for them to listen to, as you will find out via us.
Yeah, you may want to share this one with them. Just, this is a fun podcast I've been listening to.
Yeah, and if you don't have a significant other, I will save you the heartache of your future spouse not really knowing how to interpret this, and just go ahead and get that out on the first date. Here's who I am. Do this. It will make your life a lot easier.
Yes. So,
although even when you know what your partner wants, it is increasingly difficult to just do that.
Yeah. it's very complicated, and that's one of the things that, as we started to discuss this topic a little bit with each other, we realized because we thought, this will be a lot like our personality test episode. And
it is not.
I mean, it is and it isn't. So when we did the personality test episode, that was so fun. And we did it with everybody. Like we asked everybody, we sent it to everybody so that, and then you and I were like, oh, what do you think so-and-so is?
And we could do it.
Yeah, we were pretty spot on.
Once you get good at that, you can kind of start going through everybody you know and be like, oh, you are this?
Yeah.
I know that.
So with love languages, though.
I don't even know what you are.
Don't make me laugh.
I can't help it. There's like 3 different layers to this. Your personality type is who you are. And you wear it
in
on
front
the
of
front
everybody.
Of your face.
Yeah.
This is behind closed doors, and spoiler alert, girls change who they are pretty
I think
frequently.
guys do too. You're just probably not being honest with yourself.
Okay. No, you said I'm steady.
Well, yeah, okay.
Ha, got
Eat
you.
those words. But yeah, and then the other thing that I think I assumed with this. Okay, wait, let's stop. So with the love languages, there's a couple of ways that you have to look with it in relation to, you and your significant other. One is, how do I prefer to receive love? Like, how do I like to be loved?
Yeah, there's one.
And then the other side is, how does my spouse or significant other like to be loved? And
And
I
then
think,
how do you think you
yeah,
want to be loved?
exactly.
Multiple layers, people,
Yeah.
multiple layers.
Um, and so one of my initial assumptions was like, oh, well, however I'm like trying to show my love to Brian, that's probably how I would like to be loved,
Yeah.
assuming that that's how I'm trying to love him. But in looking back, I think that can be warped too by just, you grow up in your parents' household, right? And you see what they do, you're
Yeah, you're
emulating
gonna like
that,
emulate them. Hmm.
and it may not necessarily be how you actually want to receive love. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
you trick
very
yourself.
complicated. Yeah. And then even as
So
you
is the
go
female
through these,
species.
as you go through these, which have we even listed them out yet?
No, we'll
Okay, we're
get
getting
there.
way ahead of ourselves. Okay, we'll do that next. But as you go through these, I think there's also you view it through the lens of like what you think what you like want to be, how
Yeah.
you think you want to receive love, and then there's if you're really honest with yourself.
We tried to go through this and we were on the phone together and I got so confused. I was ready to just be done with it. I was like, I don't even know how to do this
It
anymore.
also almost got like contentious for
Yeah,
a
we
little
got in a
bit.
fight over it because you got mad that
You're like, I'm not insulting you. I just
yes.
think this is what you are. And I was like, no, I'm not.
That'll be a good way to transition how we got there. So I've got this one little chart on the 5 love languages, and what I liked about it is it lists all 5, it defines them, it shows how to express which some of those I was kind of like, but the key that we figured out, if you're struggling at home to figure out what languages you prefer and kind of what order, because everyone's going to use
Yeah,
all
everybody's going to
5
be
to
a
some
mix.
extent.
Yeah.
But there's what we found is typically 1 or 2 that is like your preferred
Your
way.
primary,
Uh-huh.
secondary kind of thing.
And
Yeah.
this third column says how to use like after conflict, which I feel
Yes.
like is specifically for guys. But that really for both of us kind of simplified it once Darcy kind of finally let her
Settled
guard
down
down.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
And let it happen. But so here's the 5. Words of affirmation, acts of service, quality time, giving gifts, and physical touch. So remember this, where it already starts to get hairy is like in my head, I'm already thinking of like, oh, here's what I do. That must be what I am. But then, okay, here we go. It's how are you doing that for the person, your spouse, your lover, who you're with?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like you said, a lot of times our natural inclination is whatever I do must be what I want.
Yeah.
And I think
But I
that
don't think that's right.
somewhat
Yeah.
holds true, somewhat. And maybe in the earlier stages of your relationship, it's probably
Yeah.
its most basic form true. But then as you get in a relationship, marriage, years go
Yeah, I
by.
guess as your relationship matures.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's what these are saying is not necessarily what you want done for, well, no, it is. It's what you want done for you, not what you do for your
Yeah.
spouse. But golly, see, this is confusing.
So read okay, so you listed them, but read how it kind of defines them.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to go through first what they are, then how to express, and then, like I said, the conflict one really kind of made it a little bit easier to
A little
understand.
clearer. Yeah.
So, words of affirmation, what is it? Verbal compliments that express your love and appreciation.
Okay.
Acts of service, what is it? An act that eases the burden of responsibility. Okay. Quality time, focused and undivided attention spent together. Giving gifts, never guess what this is. Tangible symbols that reflect your thoughtfulness and effort. Physical touch, a non-sexual touch that reinforces your presence.
Okay.
So when I first went through that column, I was like, ugh, I don't know. I don't know that I really care about any of these.
Whatever.
For myself, I mean, it was just hard of like, well, I don't know. Guess get me a gift. I like it when that happens. I don't know. So that was hard. So then I was like, all right, let's go to the next one. How to express. So back to the top. Words of affirmation. Brag to others about your spouse. Write love letters. Okay. Acts of service. Wash the dishes. Pamper your spouse. offer, let me do that for you. So it's in quotations.
Yeah.
Quality time. Turn off electronics, go for a walk, plan date nights, start a hobby together. Boy. Giving gifts. Make birthdays and anniversaries special. Surprise them with their favorite treat. Okay. Physical touch. Long hugs, not just hugs, long hugs. Gentle caressing, kissing, massaging, hand holding. Hand holding.
Brian.
So, once again, now here I am, people. I'm 2 columns in, and I'm like, I don't know about any of these. This is about to be difficult. Then, all of a sudden, I saw the last column after conflict. And here's where we went off the wagon a little bit. So, words of affirmation. Speak words that build security and initiate a sincere apology. Okay. I'll give you a hint who you think that might be. Acts of service. Make behavior changes requested through conflict. Nobody ever does that. Quality time. Make eye contact, active listening with empathy. Don't interrupt. Giving gifts. Give a small token of your love in an apology note. Physical touch. Hold each other without saying a word. And cuddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That did make it easier. All of a sudden, I was like, all right, what do I have to do when things go awry? All right, I can go to this column now. I can size Darcy up. And then we had to deal with conflict.
yeah. So, when we initially discussed this in the conversation that you claim not to remember, I had I had said that I think mine is words, and I'm pretty sure you said yours was words as well. Like our primary one, our primary one was words, but now I realize you were just going along with whatever I was saying. Probably.
I don't even remember this at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Because I think we both said words, and then like words of affirmation.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to think of what else you said. Maybe acts of service. I don't know. But anyways.
When was this?
When we were either I want to say we did it at Engaged Encounters.
Oh. Okay.
But I couldn't. I pulled out the workbooks and flipped through them, and I could not find.
We don't even have a work. You have a workbook?
We have 2 workbooks, one for you and one for me. You wrote in them.
I don't recall that at all.
I looked through it.
That's creepy. If it's mine, give it back to me.
But I couldn't find. But I swear that's where we.
Intellectual property.
But that's when we initially brought this up, I think, or somewhere around that time. Some kind
like
of marriage prep.
2017.
Probably. Yes.
Okay.
So, anyways, kind of where this whole topic got brought up is that I told you the other day, post conflict.
Yes.
I was like, so I think that
my love language is changing.
I was like, I think that physical touch might be a little higher than I give it credit for.
Of course it is.
And you were like, oh, okay. Lovely.
Key in, gentlemen. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Just when you think you've got them figured out, here comes a curveball.
Here's one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about this today. If you are engaged, dating, newly married, or maybe you're well into it, if you haven't discussed this part of love languages that we're about to get into, like Brian says, get your pen out because it makes a difference. So
it's the key.
It is the key.
You finally have the golden key.
Because
it may not be your natural disposition, but
yeah, well, that's the thing. So understanding how you like to be loved is important for, I think, communicating purposes, because on the flip side of it, understanding how my significant other wants to be loved can make sure that we're not just putting in like futile efforts, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I could be trying to quote unquote love you and you're not even catching it.
Well, and this is what happens when
I think it is.
Even over minor conflicts, I think what makes it take so long to get past is when you're doing something, you're like, I'm over this. We already did this, and that wasn't what you needed to get back on track, or vice versa.
Yeah. Right. And so the 5 love languages that we're going off of today is based on Gary Chapman. He coined the term.
I think it's religious, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he was a Christian marriage counselor. And so he coined
And all the answers.
Yeah. He coined the 5 love languages, and
you think he had problems in his marriage?
No, I don't. But I read some of this.
I bet his wife hated getting put in a box.
Yeah, maybe so. That's
is
fair.
He still alive? I don't know how old this is.
That I don't know. I think I want to say he did this around like the 60s, so probably not. But if you are, Gary, I'm sorry. Anyway, so he saw these couples, right? And he said that a lot of their communication issues and things could all be solved if they just realized that they were both probably trying
in different ways
and not really like recognizing that the other was trying. So that's kind of what brings us to this. So I think that we all probably have like a primary, secondary, love language and everything. So understanding the primary and secondary of your spouse is important, especially to your point, when you're in conflict and you need to, or post-conflict, and you need to reconnect.
When you need to get out of it, guys.
Yeah. So you've gotten to the point where you're putting down the shovel and you're trying to.
No, you just dig your way out now.
trying
down.
Yeah, trying to reconnect, and this, like when we had the discussion, I can remember just being like, oh yeah, this makes so much sense. Why, like, this is what I need post conflict, and you don't at all. Because I kind of joke with you, and I think you get annoyed with me, but I joke with you when we're post conflict. I'm like, Brian,
you don't joke post conflict.
Well,
first
no,
off, let's
okay.
go ahead and put a pin in that.
Yeah, I don't. But I've told you multiple times, I'm like, Brian, I don't want to have to draft your apology.
Because you have before,
I do.
I think.
Yeah. There have been times that I'm like, this is just easier. Let me just tell him what to say. And I'm like, this is what I need
We're like
to hear
a
from you.
sitcom over here.
And then you're like, okay. And then you just repeat it back to me, basically.
Just giving you what you want.
Yeah. And honestly, it does at least do something. But knowing that about me, hopefully.
Nobody can apologize to you better than you can apologize to you. That's what I know.
That's right. That is exactly right.
So just do it.
That is exactly right. But some genuine effort from you to apologize in word form goes a long way for me.
Yeah, except all right, we're like, for the guys out here, it's like, oh man, we just found the treasure chest. But now I feel like, okay, I'm gonna like, next time we get into something, draft this like huge apology, and it's just gonna feel fake because now I know that's what you want. But I'm still gonna try it.
You have to. Yeah, and I promise it will be appreciated.
Okay, we'll hold you to it. We'll do a pop-up episode next time we get in the scuttle.
Let's not. A scuttle. I like that word. Okay, so have we even gone through like where we scored, kind of?
Oh no, we'll get to that first. Where did we? Let's go to when we were on the phone in the car and what we thought we were.
Okay, so I said I was words of affirmation and physical touch.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And
you claimed that I was.
I said words of affirmation, but I said gift giving.
Gifts. You said words of affirmation and gifts.
Yeah. What about me?
You claimed that you were.
No, what did you think I was?
Oh, okay. I thought you were words of affirmation and.
You just want me to be words?
I know. Probably. I claimed that you were words of affirmation and, golly, I don't remember, acts of service? Or did I say gifts?
I don't remember.
Me
I said
either.
I think I said acts of service and gifts was what I
Yeah.
was. Oh, I know that's what I said.
Yeah, and then I got like mad that you were saying that you weren't words, and I feel like that does hold
Yeah.
a lot more than you are giving it credit for.
Not only that, you were mad that I was saying you were gifts.
That's right. Because and this is part of what we wanted to unpack here too. I feel like there's what you think you ought to be,
Yeah.
and it's hard to self-check and like be honest with yourself about what you are. And
Well,
one of the
and then it was
reasons,
also hard because I was going through, like I said, I looked at this as like after conflict and probably wrongfully so, but I was like, well, here's what I do and we get over it. So it's got to work, right?
yeah, and so gifts, I think one of the things is like you can look at that and be like, well, that's materialistic, and I'm not materialistic.
Yeah. But it's like
But it's just the
token.
connotation. It's
Yeah.
not. It's supposed to be like a tangible token. Doesn't have to be, something that's wrapped up with a bow or anything.
Yeah, I don't get showered with gifts. And neither do you.
And I think that's. Oh, I remember. So that's the other thing that made me upset is you were saying that the gifts was like your love language, and I was like, but I don't ever get you gifts.
Yeah, that's right. That's what got you so mad. But that's where I'd said
So I
like
felt like you were like claiming that I wasn't loving you.
yeah. So then we had to go through the whole thing again with real
Yeah.
conflict now.
Yeah.
But no, that's where so with the gifts it's like a token. And so the example I'd used for you, right or wrong, is if it's widely known I leave for work every day and most days you're at home. And so I was like, man, one of the things I do that you've always been appreciative of is even something as small as if I have to stop and get gas, I'll go get you like a Hershey bar or something.
Yes.
Because that's the other funny thing is like I'm saying all these things on giving gifts and I hate buying flowers.
Yeah.
Like I don't like that would be the number one go-to of something you would think of and I'm like the world's worst. I think what was it, our first Valentine's Day? I got like
yes.
your
No, wait, pause. Let me tell this story because this is worth it. So our very first Valentine's Day,
We've
and
been dating like 2 months.
if
not
that,
even.
not even
Yeah.
because it's February and we
Yeah.
started in January. So, yeah. So our first Valentine's Day, and
This is why I don't do flowers.
so, I don't think we had even talked about it being Valentine's Day or anything. And I get this text or snap from my sister that's like, oh my gosh, Brian is the sweetest. And this is still so hilarious thinking back on it. Brian had sent her flowers. And I was like, oh, that is so sweet. Like, I guess mine are coming. That's so
Amen.
sweet that he, like, thought of my sister, too, because she was single and living with me at the time. And so I was like, that's so sweet. But then the day ticks on, and I never got freaking flowers. He sent my sister flowers. And then I guess you came to my house that night.
Uh-huh.
And like you didn't even realize I hadn't gotten them, and
Nope.
you said something, or I said one of us said something about Livia, having gotten the flowers, and you were like, yeah, and I was like, okay, and you're like, well, where's your? I was like, I didn't get any.
Yeah.
Did you get your money back for those? Because he sent some, and they didn't show
I
up.
don't know if we ever used it, but this is where it's so dumb. I think I got my sister flowers, your sister flowers, and I used like local, or I may have even gone to like HEB or something. I don't know, but I used 2 different vendors.
Yeah.
And I ordered yours, and it was supposed to be obviously it was supposed to be nicer because I was dating you and they never delivered it.
That's right. Michelle got some too.
Yes.
So both of our sisters got flowers from you, and I didn't get any flowers. And not like it wasn't, because then I was like, well, they'll come later in the day or something.
I
And-
thought that too.
Yeah, and they never came. I never got them.
Yeah, that was the worst. If I could remember, I don't want to slam which service it was and be wrong, but they did offer to give me credit because the thing was,
That's right.
Like, at first it was like, oh, they're going to show up tomorrow, and I was like, whatever, fine, you get them tomorrow, who
Yeah.
cares? But then they didn't come the
Yeah, they
next day
didn't.
either, and so it was going to be like a week, and I was like, what the heck? So they offered me money, but I don't even think I got it. I probably have like a store credit, but I can't even remember who it was now. But yeah, so that was the first and last time I tried for that.
Yeah. So Brian doesn't do flowers often.
I do
You,
plants.
yeah, you get me like rose bushes and stuff that I can keep and
Sometimes
tend to,
you
and
put in the ground, sometimes you don't.
sometimes, yeah, that's okay. Anyway,
What are we
so
talking about?
yeah, yeah. So gifts, there can be all different types,
Bunch of different
and
gifts.
it was one of the things that we were talking about is if you are a person who gives gifts or likes to receive gifts as part of your love language, um, there are different, I guess, types too.
Yes.
Like some people, like we're saying, flowers is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I know several in our family that love getting flowers and stuff. I would rather get something that I'm going to eat.
Yep. I've
Which makes
gotten
me
you
sound
a
fat, but
I've gotten you a Hershey bar bouquet before.
hmm. Oh, and then also, um, like another example, I like practical gifts. You have gotten me multiple power tools.
Yes. Yes. In a store, a steam cleaner. And
Yeah. Well, because, and it's worth noting because, like, my mom is
yeah,
an
I'm super
example.
romantic. I got you a tree pruner for
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
That was like an anniversary gift, I
Yeah,
think.
that might have been.
Yeah.
I
But,
just
like,
kill it with this.
I know the example is like my mom. I remember her early on telling my dad, because I think he wanted to get her like a
A
vacuum
vacuum,
cleaner
I
or
think.
something or some kind of cleaning thing. And she was like, no, I don't, that's not going to be my gift.
I think, or she said he had to get something else too.
Yeah, exactly. So she doesn't want anything that's gonna like make her work. Yeah, that was her thing.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I don't mind. I
No,
practical all the way. Give me something I can use.
I prefer that.
Yeah, but anyway, point is there's all different types of gifts, and it doesn't also have to be very materialistic either. Because I think one of the things that we discussed in our kind of controversial conflict, or conversation that we were having about this was that because I was like, I don't give you gifts. What are you talking about? This can't be your primary love language because I stink at it. Um,
But when you do,
but um, but like we talked about, I always write you a card for
yes.
your birthday
Mm-hmm.
or Father's
And I keep
Day.
them.
And, yes, and so that can be. I think that can fall under. There's probably gray area that can fall under
Well, and that
gifts
was the other thing
too.
we found with this. So many of these, A, we're all going to try to put ourselves in a box and say, here's
Mm-hmm.
the one or two that
Mm-hmm.
really affect me. And there's going to be truth to that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of gray area and overlap on all of these. They do, I think, change. I think some of that we were talking about, like, so I said you were giving gifts. We took a quiz. We'll get to this in a second.
Yeah.
And kind of found out which, it kind of broke down the two that are the highest for you.
Yeah.
But we also realized once you're with someone for a while, you may like giving gifts may not be one of your top two, but you've just gotten used to it as
Yeah.
an appreciation because it's what I just keep doing. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
just keep drafting my apologies. I'll just keep getting you little gifts.
trapped in your apologies.
It works.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I do, yeah, back to what we were saying. I think this is a great thing to discuss if you haven't yet, because it will show you a couple of things. One, it is obviously important to know how.
Just don't let it start conflict.
It's obviously important to know how your spouse or significant other wants to be loved so that then you can do that thing.
Exactly.
And it may not be what you think it is. And then I think the other side of this too is, for example, I think, we did the quizzes and everything, and it's kind of hard. We didn't really land on a quiz that we really loved.
No, we ran through
I
a
think
couple
it's,
of them.
and I'll share some of them because I think they can at least be conversation starters,
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think just discussing it with your significant other is most fruitful.
Yeah.
But anyways, one of my biggest ones is words of affirmation. I
Mhm.
totally agree with that, and I know I'm that person. I'm that person in the workplace.
That's
I'm
super
that
obvious.
person, definitely with you. But the other one, and like I said, this I think has started to grow for me a little bit, is the physical touch.
Yes,
Is
that's
one
what
of
we
mine.
talked about. That's where you
Mm-hmm.
sprung on me last week. Hey.
I just need a hug.
Come on.
Yeah. And, you know, I think something important to note about this one too, because there's these connotations that go along with these words. Like we were saying, gifts can sound materialistic,
Mm-hmm.
physical touch can sound like, PDA. I
Yeah.
don't want PDA.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
yeah, because you're not that guy. But it's not just that. And so kind of look into what that means for you. But what I was getting at with this is that, I'm words of affirmation and physical touch, but physical touch is like the bottom of the barrel for what you
Yeah, it was
naturally
last.
do.
Yeah.
And so I
And
think,
I'm not just like some prude. We don't sleep in like two separate beds and stuff like that. It's more of like if we're out in public, it's like hand holding and
yeah,
stuff like
no,
that.
it is for you, it is PDA. You don't want PDA. You don't like hardly any version of PDA,
Yeah, I guess.
which is a little flaw.
It's just not my go-to.
I know. No, but that's the thing is that's important to that I think you get out of these
But now I
conversations.
know
Exactly. And what I was getting at is,
things are going off the rails. Just touch your hand. Good to
Lord.
go now.
Okay, let me finish the sentence.
Okay.
Um, so I'm words of affirmation and physical touch, but I think the physical touch part has grown a little bit in large part to the fact that you aren't it's not your natural go-to
Mm-hmm.
to offer up physical touch. So it means more to me when you do. And I think that's what's kind of like grown that as part of my love language.
So by
So
just
there's the
not,
twist.
yeah. So all right, if we're keeping score now, if there's one, guys, if you just don't do one for a long time and starve it out, now you can bring that
Starve
back
it
into the
out.
repertoire. Apparently, that's how it goes. I thought I had you figured out because you don't like PDA.
I
And
don't, but you
now
have brought this out of me. You brought this upon yourself. No, but I really
so
do
when you
think
see
there's
us in
truth
public now,
to that. Yeah.
you can blame the quiz.
Yeah. I think there's just truth to that because it's the things that are out of the norm for you that I think I don't know, it just draws more attention to the fact that you are offering up some type of love that's not natural for you.
Makes it more impactful, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't even remember. So we did do, I think it was like 5lovelanguages.com or something like that, real in depth here.
Yeah.
What did you get on yours?
Words of affirmation.
What
And
was your
then
second one?
I think it was physical touch and acts of service and then
I don't know. You
no,
took it.
no. It was oh gosh. Okay. Hang on. Oh, okay, yeah. It doesn't we didn't pay for it. So
Yeah,
it's
it's like $35.
words of affirmation and then receiving gifts and physical touch and then quality time and acts of service. Not sure of the breakdown of those, but
So this is kind of funny because acts of service was the bottom for you.
yeah.
And so then I took it, and acts of service was number one for me. Now, to be fair, so we don't know the percentages, but mine followed in words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts. So I guess I was way off on that. And then you guessed it, physical touch was my bottom of the barrel.
Right.
And by judging the questions, I think I told you there was only like 2 that I answered that were clearly like physical touch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So we got
kind
some
of
work to do.
I know. But that's the thing is like discussing this. I don't think I would have pegged you for an acts of service guy. I don't know. And so now hearing that that's higher up on, or that is your highest one, right? From that
Yes.
quiz. And I do think that's probably right. I don't know. But, and I guess I do acts of service.
So, like, I don't know if you read this before you have to pay for it to unlock, but it's like it talks about so acts of service for me, and it's like when a loved one goes out of their way to make your life easier, you feel connected to them. An act of service communicates that you are their top priorities. Actions for you speak louder than words, ironically, because you're words of affirmation. Acts of service quickly fill your love tank. And I think where it was going, judging by the questions, and this does hit home. Although, like we said, we couldn't find any of them that they weren't as good as the personality test was,
Yeah.
just flat out.
Yeah.
Because even the ones I was answering, I was like, I guess I'd pick this one, but I didn't necessarily feel strongest about it. But we'll use the Dr. Pepper example. Because I don't view this as a gift. There are times like if you're running to town and we'll say Dr. Pepper, just stick with that, but it can be any little thing. If I can go there, I'm pretty independent. I'll go get it myself. But if you go get it for me, or especially when I think about my own life, like if you come home and we're like, hey, I noticed you needed this, and you've now saved me a trip to go get something, or hey, I noticed you were out of work pants, so I went and washed a bunch for you. Like those types of things. The way I was reading it is like it lets you know someone's thinking about you.
Yeah.
I don't need a love letter. I appreciate them, but what I guess really kind of makes me feel special would be if you just go out of your way and do those things. And you do. You'll fold my clothes, because the thing, like I do my own laundry and stuff like that. But when you even just I moved your clothes from the washer to the dryer and then I folded them and put them up. Oh, now that's something I don't have to do. And that's like some of the things I really appreciate about you. So even if it's bottom of your barrel, those are things that like you do for me that I
make your
notice.
coffee every morning.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, if y'all don't know this, I don't even know how to use our percolator, so it's extremely helpful.
Yeah, whenever I'm gone, you just go without.
Yeah, or I go through a lot of coffee trying to get the.
I know. Remember the one time I left and you said you tried to make it 3 different times?
Yeah, I've used a lot of coffee beans. So now I have Folgers for when she's gone.
Yeah.
And it's not as good. But so here we go. So that's what is that one called? I don't even remember. Acts of service.
Oh, yeah.
So like we were talking, and this is where, so she wants words of affirmation or physical touch. Those are 2 things that I probably struggle with more than anything, which is just perfect because we're married now. But I do think you've gotten used to like acts of service are what I want, and it's also what I constantly do for you, even with those gifts, like the practical gifts. I'm trying to get you things that will make your life easier, or like we've talked, I make dinner every night, and
he always
I'll make your
makes
plate.
my plate.
Yeah, and pick up your plate and stuff, even if I don't do all the dishes. But those are the things that I try to emulate, which is just I think it's my natural disposition, which I think guys probably struggle with. Maybe I'm generalizing here, but this is where like what I want is what I put out.
Yeah.
And so it is a little bit, because I'll sit here right now. We've been talking about this for a week, and I'll scratch my head of like, oh my gosh, I'm doing these things, and not that you don't appreciate them. You've learned to appreciate them, but
yeah.
What would go a lot farther for you is physical touch or words of affirmation. And so it is important, all the jokes aside, to now take that information. I think going through this now, it'll even take it to another level of appreciation, those acts of service I do for you. But now I can see that whether this quiz was accurate or not, acts of service probably ranks more towards the bottom of your list. I think part of that is because you're almost numb to it, because I just do it all the time.
Yeah.
But now I need to use that information and try to use that, incorporate it as best I can.
Yeah. No, agreed.
And you need to remember the things that I need.
I know. I think that's the other thing that got me all defensive when we were talking on the phone, is you were saying that it was acts of service. And I was like, but Brian, I don't ever remember. Like he'll ask me. This has happened multiple times. I've only recently gotten it, but he'll be like, Darcy, on the way home, or when you stop in there, will you grab me a Dr. Pepper? And I will forget. I'll get some for everybody else. And I get home, he's like, where's my Dr. Pepper? And I'm like, oh my, I feel so small.
Which is why when you do it, I'm like, oh man,
she thought of me. And I'm like, I do think of you. So, and this is another thing that I wanted to talk about with this too, at least briefly, is I think that these these love languages can change over time and also maybe even have some seasonality.
Mm-hmm.
And by seasons, I mean, like, I think I told you this the other day. I think one of the reasons that I don't, excel in doing acts of service for you right now is because I feel like my whole life is an act of service right
Yeah,
now
because we have 3
because
kids.
of
Yeah.
the boys. And so,
Boys just keep cutting in.
yeah, they just keep cutting in. And so in different phases of life, I think I will be better at that. And then another way of looking at it and looking at kind of the way things can change and be sort of seasonal is that, like you said, if you're if we're doing one thing and our partner gets used to that, then whenever we show our love in a different way, that it might be more recognizable to
Mm-hmm.
them just
Yeah.
because it's kind of out of the norm. And so that's something to keep in mind too.
Well, and that's where, kind of like we said, you're going to have these ranked, but that doesn't mean like
Yeah.
quality time's lower on both of ours. Well, we get a lot of quality time, and that doesn't mean you can't use that
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
So I think it's also just a reminder of like, hey, all of these are a
Oh,
way
yeah.
to express your love, and you should
No, that's a
probably
very good
do
point.
that
That's a very good
more
point.
with all of them.
But okay, let's get real quick to the importance of kind of having this discussion for when you are post conflict. You are, because that's going to be the point that you're hopefully trying to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we talked about this, and I said this the other day, where I was like, I think physical touch is a little higher because I just need a hug. I think it is also because I know that almost especially post conflict, you aren't wanting to spew out the words that I want to hear just right then. You might come around, but you're not there yet. And
Nope.
so I know that it's almost like I'm reverting to my secondary and like, okay, well then give me
If
a
I'm not
hug.
getting this, give me
If I'm
that.
not getting this right now, then give me a hug.
Just made you
Um,
dinner.
and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want my dinner right now. I want a hug or for you to give me the apology I'm looking for. And we keep talking about this like I'm demanding all this, but for you, for you too, post conflict, it would probably go a really long way if I did this the other day. We
Mm-hmm.
had like a little, I don't even remember what the conflict was now. It wasn't huge. It was just kind of a little, what did you call it earlier? Scuttle?
Yeah.
Um, so, and then I came home and I had bought you a new shirt from the store because I thought of you.
Yep. See.
And
And
I
was
think
that a gift or was that an act of service? I don't know. I
it was
needed
a
a shirt.
gift. It was a gift. It was a gift. That's a gift. And so that went a long ways for you too.
It did.
As well as like now I'll kind of keep in mind that post conflict, if we're trying to reconnect, maybe I do fold your clothes and put them away for you or something, or
Sweet.
take out the trash because that's something that you primarily do, and I would remove that responsibility from you. So,
All good things. All good things.
yeah. Okay. Have we covered everything?
I think so.
I think we typically do.
Talk this into the ground.
Talk it into the ground and into circles. Okay. Well, any final thoughts other than this is important? Talk with your spouse about it and observe. Like next time just observe in general, but also next time post conflict.
Especially, I think these things show up a lot
Yeah.
in our natural dispositions post conflict.
I think so.
It
Pay attention
happens
to
in
what
our
you
everyday
yourself.
life, but I just think it's easier to
Yeah.
keep up with post conflict.
Yes, because your feelings are probably stronger then,
Yeah.
and so pay attention to what you're feeling
Well, and
post conflict and what you're craving
if you're
from your spouse.
struggling with your spouse to get over, especially if it's something trivial, because
Yeah.
most of us it's trivial things on the everyday, and if it's something trivial and you're still struggling to like just blow past it,
Yeah.
you're probably just not on the same wavelength there.
Exactly.
And it
That's
goes
a good point.
for both people, both
Yeah.
parties involved. But yeah, so that is going to be our spin on this, but we're not done.
Yeah.
Our goal for the next episode is to kind of, because we talked about how seasonal these love languages can be. So we're
And
going
just
to,
how it matures over time, or your relationship matures, it can change.
and we've only been married 6 years now, something
Is it
like
coming
that.
up on 7?
No, 6. 6, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm right. So we're going to try to get people in different stages, maybe. a less than 5 year, more than 10, more than 25 or something like that. We're going to see. We
So we
haven't,
can gather some guests.
yeah, we haven't worked on this at all, but we got a week.
Yeah.
So
we also reserve the right to change this if we need to.
Absolutely. So don't
But-
hold your breath on this
Yeah.
unless you see an Instagram post by following the page later
Yeah.
that says we are a go. So we've
Yeah.
made a list of potential people to go after.
If you're interested
if you're
in
interested,
being a guest.
yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
We can do it by phone or in studio. We have done both now with, I think, decent success. So anyways, we're going to try to dive in a little deeper here and get other people's perspective other than just our own, and maybe vindicate me a little bit. So anyways, so that's going to do it for today. As a reminder, talk about these things with your spouse. Maybe find some of these quizzes. They're not as dead on as personality test was, but it is fun.
I'll share some that we did because it's at least starting the conversation.
It'll help you get a good frame of reference. So talking about love languages, Gary Chapman, right? Right, yeah. Look him up, and it's good. So now that we have unpacked love languages, you go discuss.